And we are live to the hosting scene. So we're going to be watching Poisound versus Stasi0. Let's hop into these deck lists here. Poisound up first. Jackpot, Reckless, Flurry, Inspired Zeal. Pretty normal set of decks. Very common lineup in the top 64 qualifiers a couple weeks ago. Starting off with Jackpot, we get all the usual suspects. Going Devotion, as once again, Sunset Wanderers was not legal for this tournament due to card availability issues. So people still going Devotion, not that Devotionless reward available. Unlike our last player that was playing Jackpot with the Borsodi brothers, here we got Roland and Gellert taking a more standard approach, more of what you would normally see on ladder. Still has the Freak Show, still has the Caesar, still has Salamandra Hideout, Philippa, Horson, Siggy, Professor Jacques, all the stuff you expect to see out of Syndicate.
Yeah, we talked about like in the Nilfgaard deck how there's not like a massive downside to the provision it lost, whereas this Jackpot deck, I think Kurt's become a payday, and that is a pretty bad trade. Like especially if you're up against a defender, could be really bad because Kurt is just a great value card anyway. Even if you don't get the Purify, just as a bounty. We saw in that last game, I think played for 12 points. If you say one coin is worth 1 point, which often it's worth more because it also just gives you more coins to spend at once with Freak Show as well. So that's definitely something to pay attention to when we look at the next player's decks if they have got defenders, because the lack of Kurt could be a problem.
Yup. Next up, we got Reckless Flurry. Once again, a pretty stock list. Maxi, 1 Northern Wind, playing the Quartermaster over the additional 5 Provision Bomb, but aside from that, I believe all of this is the same as the list that we saw in the previous round, and similar to lists that we've been seeing for the last couple of weeks on ladder and in other tournaments as well.
Yeah, again, that no Moondust, so clearly just sort of sticking to his guns, Poisound, and saying, just not expecting to see many defenders. Like, instantly Clog is going to be more difficult without that single Moondust. Like, that can go a really long way because you Moondust the first defender, you can Hjalmar the second one, and then you can Heatwave the Colgrim. Obviously, you need to draw all the cards, but like if he comes up against Clog, like personally, I would probably have tried to do everything I can to be fitting Purifying. But obviously, Devotion Northern Realms doesn't have that luxury anyway at all. You can of course play a City Guard, but it's not exactly doing exactly what you're looking for. So Inspired Zeal being the last deck. And it looks like a life coach deck with the Commandos and the Siege in a Devotion form.
And Erland. Does this deck normally play Erland as well?
The life coach one did, yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
life coach had the Erland, the Siege. So I've seen a couple people, Paya and Red Drain, playing similar versions of in a non-devotion way with this, with Megascopes. Going for they both had a lot of success with it towards the end of the season. They're just sort of going all in Commandos. Paya prefers the Siege, whereas Red Dream has just been playing Erland in his. So Erland, like Red Dream, like really. I mean, I love Erland. I used to play him in my Pogna decks. Card is so good for like threatening reach in round 1, and obviously in a Commando deck you can play him as a big finisher in round 3 as well.
Very, very interesting. Okay, well, his opponent, Stasi0, has got Pincer Maneuver, Jackpot, and Force of Nature. Starting.
There's no defender in the Force of Nature trying that. He's got Caretaker. No.
Yeah.
That's a disaster.
That's a big deal, especially against the Reckless Flurry deck that can sort of fight over these big Koshchei and She Who Knows turns. Don't care too much about the Caretaker, but needing to answer defender as well can bring that matchup from really hard to sort of playable for the Force of Nature side. I know we saw in the Open last weekend, Force of Nature was able to win that matchup, I believe, twice off the back of defender, giving it that extra must-answer threat. But starting off here, we got Pincer Maneuver for the NR deck with Siege, Full Test, and Full Test looking to be just for Dun Banners, so a more standard-looking Siege take. We got Ballistas and Reinforced Ballistas and Full Test Pride as Siege engines, only playing a single Bombardment. Bannered Student and Casting Contest. What's a bit weird?
The 4s, like just playing one Bombardment, one Ballista, often you'll see 2 of each. He does have Full Test Pride as like another Siege engine. In fact, a card I've not tried yet, but I really want to try is the War Chariot.
Yeah.
in these kinds of decks. With it's got cooldown now,
Hmm.
so if you've got a crew pocket every 3 turns, I think it is, you can move and give bleeding. I think that sounds really cool. I want to try some stockpile decks actually. I'm sure it's still not very good, but worth trying. And no, going for Foltest Pride instead. But yeah, the thing that catches eye is the double Royal Guard. I guess it does make sense with the Dunbanner Foltest sort of situation, and also has like a boiling or casting contest and Margarita. So yeah, it looks like a solid enough deck. I know Lou, her big cuckoo, Bruzina. I still can't believe I had to say that for a whole weekend. Um, had a very similar deck and it worked very well. So
Cool. Yeah, so moving on to the jackpot. Trying to see if there's just anything unique here. And the thing that stands out to me here, there's a mutated hounds in the fives. Just getting that
yeah,
additional
wanting that
poison.
extra poison. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It has the double tax collected double peaches, which I think is certainly the way I would go with it. Just one mutants maker though is a bit dodgy. Obviously, if it was me, I would be playing double mutants maker and then maybe. I guess there's not really many good 5p spenders over the jackal, but you've got like the bloody good friends. It's kind of a
Yeah,
bit
now it's at
lackluster,
6
isn't it?
power. Sort of
You want to
justifiable.
play it really with justice, I think, don't you, to maximize that card's potential? But still, I think like just not playing Mutants Maker ×2, double Peaches, double Tax Collector. I think they're just such good cards for their provision cost. I would be doing all I could to be playing these cards, honestly.
Yep, and then lastly we got this really tiny Force of Nature deck. A Neuromancy, She Who Knows, Heatwave, Koshji, Caretaker. Again, no defender. Playing Aguara, Derogare for locks. The Crones, Maxi, one Gancane. Only one Gancane, one Witch Apprentice. That's unusual.
Yeah, and also playing a Noon Wraith over a second Kikimor Warrior. Um,
And over
Double
Elderbear.
Bruxer. Yeah, why no Elderbear? Good point. Oh, I would love to have seen the Elderbear, actually. That would be brilliant. But
Actually, but is there a reason to play Noonwraith in this list? He doesn't
it's
have
not, is there? Not
consumes, so
sure.
he's not really going to clog his opponent's board. I feel like it's all downside, no?
Yep.
Does it being a monsters card matter?
Oh.
Yeah.
The only real thing that often it would be with Haunt, Death Wish tag, but
Yeah. But
nothing. Yeah,
I'm not seeing it.
obviously this deck got nerfed with the Witch Apprentice going to 5p, so something's got to give. You probably want to keep the Dorogray, the Heat Wave, the Agora as well. Just seems very very good.
Oh, I
All
figured
this
it out.
like gold end.
Figured it out. You can Corinthian it.
Wow, I mean that's just broken, right? Oh no! What a deck!
Maybe
Yeah,
you go
this
into
is
round
the
3 against Nilfgaard, you have 3 charges on your Consume Crone, and then you Corinthian your Noonwraith, play Noonwraith, and clog them with rats.
it's just broken.
It's a game plan.
Yeah, I mean, I like the decision to bring Force of Nature. Also, like going for Caretaker does make a lot of sense when you're expecting Cloggets as well. Like,
Yeah.
let's be fair. Like having a Caretaker does fit this deck well. It's also going to help just against Imprisonment Nilfgaard decks, which you're probably expecting to see lots of Nilfgaard in the weekend. In this particular case, though, just having looked at Poisound's decks with the fact that he's sort of cut a few corners and tried to cram a few more provisions into his deck by not playing Purify cards at all. This Caretaker, if it was a Cave Troll, would have helped him massively, but certainly not all over. There's going to be ways for getting the Force of Nature deck through. What do you think about Witch Apprentice at 5p? Because that's quite an interesting one now.
I still think Witch Apprentice is really strong. It's a bronze engine that can grow out of control really quickly. It still deploys at 6, so it's not the easiest thing to answer. And I mean, I've seen plenty of Witch Apprentices just take over a game. So many have gotten to like 12, 16, 20 points.
Yeah, I think especially in this deck, right, where you're playing for the Sabbath anyway. She Who Knows.
Exactly.
With the Ratcatcheress, you've got the Lava, the Thrivey boys. Feel like I would have liked to have seen double Witch Apprentice, double Gankian. I mean, the Gankian isn't as amazing, I think, but I definitely would have liked to have seen double Witch Apprentice. Something would have to go though, so I can certainly see the difficulty in it. And I also think it was a very fair nerf on the Witch Apprentice. It's still a great card at 5p.
Yeah, there were 2 nerfs people were talking about, either reducing it to 3 power so it only grew to 5 so you're able to kill it with more things, or to just boost it to 5p so that it's a little more okay that your bronze engine is harder to answer. And I really like the choice that they went with. It's a more powerful card this way. It's still sort of hard to answer, still can be really strong, but it's not as easy to include in the deck. Like when
Yeah,
your control decks like Kelly feel safe enough at getting Sabbath that Witch Apprentice is worth playing as a 2 of in those decks, I think there might have been a little bit of a problem with how generic the card was.
Yeah, and chat are saying as well that like the Gen can brick. I kind of agree. I would honestly just prefer, if you're going to keep all these golds, just play the double Witch Apprentice and sack this card off. I think it's a card as well that benefits from playing 2 of, kind of, because you play them early before the Witch Apprentices, and you might play 1 for 7, but that means your next one's going to play for 9. So I definitely can understand the difficulty, and this is what's great about having tournaments right at the start of a patch. You don't just have the net deck, this is the best way to play each faction, this is the best way to play each deck, and you do see like a few different discrepancies, and that also means people that are, deck builders that enjoy building decks and feel confident in building like very refined meta decks have an advantage, and I think that's always quite exciting. Like certainly if I was playing this weekend, I would fancy my chances more winning a tournament like this than winning a tournament right at the end of the month. I mean, I don't fancy my chances wouldn't fancy my chances winning it anyway, but I would like my odds more at the start of a season compared to the end of a season.
Yeah, this tournament's super weird too, because you can't really test this metagame on ladder because of the lack of Sunset Wanderers. Like the decks people are going to play in this tournament versus the decks that you can play on ladder are very different. Like you had mentioned when talking about this Monsters deck, you're expecting a lot of Cloggers. I don't know how much Cloggers you can really expect in this tournament with no Sunset Wanderers. That card gets a lot both from the card and from the opponents playing the card.
Yeah.
Because when your opponent has Sunset Wanderers, you clog them with one of their bronzes, then they're only drawing that bronze. And Sunset Wanderers are obviously great when you're trying to thin yourself.
Yeah, I had someone clog my my Portal, the Conquerors from Portal, just before my Sunset Wanderers went through, so I just ended up with a 0-point card in hand. But I mean, obviously Sunset is so good in these Cloggers decks, but I think it's really easy to have overlooked how well it did towards the end of last season. We didn't see it at all at the Open, but Paya was just telling me like the MMR range was just a joke because everyone was just playing Cloggers. Like Mayamon had a Megascope Infiltrator deck where he was just trying to farm people and got like a ridiculous score because you just get to a certain point in the ladder where it's just about win streaks to get MMR and you just play like the cheesiest decks. That's like that was the Mayamon strategy anyway for his Cloggers, and it worked. And yeah, people have obviously clocked onto it a lot for the start of this patch, but the fact that it got buffed with Sunset Wanderers and okay, you can't clog tokens anymore, but I don't really think that matters too much. Like the clog isn't the cards you give your opponent, it's the cards you stop your opponent from drawing.
I think it changes how it feels to play against Clog for some decks, but I generally agree. Yeah, it's not a huge impact on the power level of the deck. But for like playing Congregate or a Raucous Swarm against Clog doesn't feel quite as bad as it used to when they're not clogging you with 1s and 2s.
Yeah. I think
even if functionally the matchup is still bad.
I think maybe like the Adrenaline could be something if they really want to keep Cloggers as a deck. I still think you shouldn't be able to renew Colgrim. I've kind of said that from as soon as the card was released. I think it's because Nova sort of has the same cutoff point. That's probably the reasoning to have not put it out of renew range. That just becomes very obnoxious. I also, something about renewing Defenders feels quite cheesy to me. I wouldn't hate the idea of putting Defenders in at 10 provisions. I think they would still see play, most likely. And I also really don't like that Letho gets the Defender tag if you copy it. Like, that whole package of cards for me just... Oh, it irks me. I fear that this is going to be a month of the Cloggers, and we're going to have to get used to playing against it. But that's why I just play Dire Bear Uridan trying it. Then who's laughing now, mate? Although I've got to be honest, it's quite scary how many games I lost with Dire Bear Uridan against Cloggers. Like my Dire Bear got locked, or something just went wrong. It was just I was very very upset.
They just had more points than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, invites have gone out. We're just currently waiting on the players to get in game, and then we'll be getting this series.
I've actually got an invite this time.
Ooh, that's a well. Oh nope, we've got.
Looks like it was me we were waiting on. Nice.
Cool. We got both jackpots banned. So Force of Nature, Pincer Maneuver. Up against Reckless Flurry, Inspired Zeal, and starting out the series, we got Stasi0 on Pincer Maneuver up against Gran's Reckless Flurry.
So Gran is Poisound, just to confirm, guys. I didn't know that. It's another random name change. Maybe he's exposed himself.
His name is Gran now.
Tailbot, yeah, good point. Tailbot did the classic of Vitalek 78 before Masters, so he could still play on ladder. Of course, he's already qualified for Masters, so he doesn't care about crown points. He just wanted to qualify for an Open for, of course, try and win an Open, get some money.
Was
So
that
he had
was that a name change or a
Vitalek.
new account?
It was a brand new account, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need to work towards the crown points. Like other players, you're restricted. But yeah, Tailbot could just go full incognito mode. And yeah, I found it absolutely hilarious when I found out he did that.
Yeah. It's one way to get testing in without knowing, without giving away anything to your competitors. What is this? The Maxi coming down? Taking a look at the order. Bear Witcher.
Double fish flap and Maddock at the bottom of your deck. You couldn't ask for much more, but
Oh,
of course
right,
that means these thinning cards as well are not going to be doing too much because of the fact that the cards you want to thin are at the bottom, and Heatwave is very near the bottom, so a very odd maxi, I have to say.
That just means your thinning cards aren't thinning cards anymore. They're just tempo cards.
What happens if I confirm the choice?
I think just nothing happens. I think I've tried it before.
I'm not going to risk it.
There's the Maxi. Presumably kept the order, but maybe if you're planning on playing Portal round 1 anyway, you decide to shuffle it up. There were a couple of Bear Witchers near the top. Maybe not what you want to have given the Quen. So TCO mousing over that Dun banner, thinking about getting that down. Has the TA to pull it immediately. Oh, nope. Just going to go for the Bannered Student and give that the TA. So one of these on 1, the other one on 0. They are both growing every turn. Back over to Gran, aka Poisound. Has 3 damage bombs, not quite enough to take out the Bannered Student. Has both Great Swords and the Megascope if he wants to try to get some tempo. Has the other Megascope available in the Avalok Sage as well if it comes to it. Thinking about Greatsword, maybe Greatsword and... What if there's a reason to leader charge? Are there Boiling Whales in the deck? There is a Boiling Whale. There's also a Marg. Oh, I'm just going to take the Dancing Star to thin out the Matic. Given the... Given the option to thin there, I wonder if he did choose to shuffle. Because obviously knowing that Matic is in the bottom 3 of the deck, not a whole lot of a rush to make sure that comes out. But TCO going to protect the Bannered Student with the Karak Marine, boosting it up to 5, keeping it out of range of Leader being able to take it out, or another Dancing Star Bomb type card. As we go back over to Poisound, who still has 2 Great Swords and some Megascopes. Quen, it is not time for yet. Just plays the Great Sword. Are we going to see a charge? Nope. Just going to float it at 4. No fear.
Could have threatened to win on even as well, with like the fact you've got Portal in hand, the Great Sword plus leader charge as well, but decides not to, and instead this Great Sword is going to get taken out here. The commitment of Assault, though, from Staticio would suggest that he fancies his chances in a long round. Obviously, Assault, a card you want to preserve if you're looking to bleed, so a little bit surprised to see Assault be committed here, but just leaves this other Banard student gaining patience, and Poisound not wanting to pass just yet, threatening reach with the Greatsword.
Yeah, just keeps the Great Swords coming. This one's also at 4. This one gets taken out by Bannered Student plus Ballistic Click if he wants. Does look like that's the line. Possibly a casting contest here. Yeah, just keep that growing. Now it's at 4. Every time this grows, that is carryover on the Shani. The patience is permanent.
It's not too much of a threat in this deck. In Inspired Zeal, you can, of course, use a charge on the Banard student to remove the Doom, but against a deck with bombs, shouldn't expect this carryover to be too relevant. And yeah, I think like Poisound is probably why he's just not committing when he doesn't see the Fall Test hit the deck. Even though there's a lot of carryover being developed, it's kind of fake carryover because you just have so many efficient answers to it. Poisound definitely going to be looking for an answer to Fall Test though. And of course, the Northern Realms player has pin to maneuver, so can just tutor Siege or anything into his hand here that he desires to do so.
Yep, so TCO has the Foltest, has the Gerhardt, what is currently sitting in deck. Still missing the Siege, still missing the Shani. The Baron, though that's not too relevant in the matchup, basically has all of the important tools. Poisound, on the other hand, currently missing Spellblood Totem that is able to be gotten by the Avalok Sage. And then Gird and Heatwave. Heatwave could be important as a way to deal with Siege, though this deck does have a lot of ways of just bricking the damage from the Siege engines between the Portal and the Spellblood Totem. All these things just gobble up random damage and pings. TCO looking to push here a bit. Plays the second Amphibious Assault, pulls out the Radovid's Royal Guards. As we go back over to Poisound. Still on the soft push here, 7 cards in hand. Poisound probably doesn't want to do anything too crazy, like commit a portal yet. As just plays a D-Bomb, brings back the Matic.
Yes. And Staticio's decision to use the Assault in round 1, you sort of see why that might be a downside from this point, because he just has basically lost a gold card for round 3. Having said that, with Pinsir, of course, you can shoot at any gold card you need, and so might not be as relevant as it appears. Often, though, in Northern Realms decks, you want to try and save Assault, in round 1, before any other card. It's often better to commit another gold card if you're planning on pushing. And also, pushing with Siege is normally something you see, but instead, going for a push with Foltest, having sort of just played an easy round 1 with the Banon students, it's certainly an interesting game. I don't really feel like I've watched a game where Foltest was a round 2 card rather than a round 1 in Pincer Maneuver, but certainly intrigued to see where this one ends up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of points. If the plan is to maybe force out the portal so you don't have to deal with it with your Siege, though I don't know if you're expecting the Siege to resolve given the Heatwave and Poisound's deck. I think just trying to see what resources that he can force out. But, I mean, the Foltest is definitely not very long for the world either.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the thing, right? You've just given your opponent a chance to set up Hjalmar in round 1. So they can now Hjalmar your Foltest, Heatwave your Siege. Otherwise, you might force the Heatwave or Leader Charges Junod in round 1 on Foltest. Whereas now, there's just a clean answer with this Hjalmar. So I guess that's probably why we don't see Foltest round 2 very often.
That is one of the downsides. Hjalmar providing a very clean answer. As we go back over to NR, who is going to be using a Leader Charge in round 2, wanting to keep up the pressure, grabs the Siege now. And this could be a problem, as Poisound does not have access to his Heatwave. Crew Pocket available for the Foltest Pride. Reinforced Ballista also available to fully proc the Siege.
You can also Adalia this Ballista and then shuffle the Bronze Ballista away for another gold card.
Yeah. That does force the portal. Going to be absorbing some of the damage from those bombardments, as well as the battering ram that comes off of the Siege. Here's the Adalia, plays the Ballista, pings a student. 17 to 31. Grand with 5 cards, TCO with 3. Bear Witch here online.
I really like this late portal. This late portal, just Poisound wasn't really expecting the push with his fish flappers, and all this armor that would have been getting developed by the portal is just not going to be as relevant as it otherwise would be. This Trebuchet, this bombardment, it's going to be playing for a lot of points. And here does come Foltest Pride.
Boom!
White, perfect. Just the fact that he's not going to get 2 adjacent units damage, but you can't really complain too much. And also gets the Hubert as well. It's a lot of damage.
11 to 37. Still a bunch of golds left over for Poisound, but it's a TCO with a Leader Charge that can get him, I believe, Shani? Yeah, I'm not seeing great Barons here. Could get Shani to res Karak Marine, as well as has this Gerhardt that can play a Pact. Reinforced Trebuchet, pinging down the Matic. Not too relevant, as the Matic can always get clicked to deal 3 damage to Staticio's board. But the pressure is on. Poisound's got to find a bunch of points, or he's going to get 2-0'd. Right now, Junod just playing for 8. Leader Charges can make it play for a bit more, but not much more. There's a 5 base power unit sitting on the board for Stasi0. Gonna play the Avalok Sage, get a Megascope for 7? 9 points total. Also putting an Avalax Sage in the range row that can take reinforced ballista hits.
Could have gone for the totem. So trying to save that totem for round 3. A greedy approach from Poisound, but thinks he's going to survive this round with his hand. But must say, against a pincer maneuver deck where they can shoot at all their golds, this 2-0 is even more dangerous because you don't need those extra 3 cards to draw your golds because you obviously have your leader ability and the ability to shuffle away the bronze card Adalia plays as well just makes that Adalia even better.
Exactly. Normally when you're in this position against NR and they play an Adalia on one of their bronze units, you know that it's going to be in their hand, but here with Pincer just able to shuffle it away, that Adalia bronze is still representing a gold. You can all in on this push, no problem.
Does look like Shani's going to be going for the Marine, as you mentioned, rather than the Bannard student. Despite having 5 patience, of course, it could just get cleaned up by a bomb, by a Bear Witcher leader charge that is a lucky leader charge. There's Junod. Dramatic clicked as well. The Fish Flapper being summoned or spawned from the Megascope, and 1 card left.
Yep.
But, you just go for Shani. You just got to go for it at this point. Believe in yourself.
Oh yeah, you're all in at this point. You don't want to go into round 3 with just a Shani. Now, Poisound's hand's not bad. Gwent and Bear Witcher does represent a lot of points, but so does this Shani.
And if Poisound does survive this, he kept the totem. There's also, of course, no assault available for the Northern Realms player Stasi0 here, so can Poisound do it? Has the click on the Kadooch? He's going to be hoping this...
6 plus Quen? It's close. It's close.
He's got it.
There's the Quen. Pulls out the Bear Witcher. Bear Witcher damages the shield. And then we got 2 flurry charges, which is enough to get into round 3.
Yeah, it does require both leaders. But again, this is the problem with using that assault in round 1. This decision in round 1 comes back to haunt you in round 3 because you would love that extra gold card in this position right now. Round 1, you really didn't need that assault, but now you're just top decking bronze cards. And again, the decision for Poisound to keep the totem could be incredibly relevant, but of course needs to find it with these last couple of mulligans. Look at these hands.
No.
They're a mess. Totem's the bottom card for Poisound.
It's probably still enough. Baron's not
dear.
great. You kick the bombardment. Bomb, Heatwave, Quartermaster? Plays Quartermaster. That's gonna get locked.
What a turn of events in this game. It's been so topsy-turvy. Doesn't go for the
get
lock.
bombardmented. Okay.
But just stays uninteractive with no totem. This is a stinker
Yeah.
for Poisound. Oh my goodness. This has been an incredible game.
If he just
What a
discards
start
this
to the
Marg,
series.
he's gonna win. Even if he doesn't discard the Marg, it doesn't matter, right?
You just Northern Wind your own Quartermaster here, bro.
I guess. Oh, man. Yeah, sometimes the totem you intentionally left in deck is just the bottom card.
Oh, this is so funny. So I'm fairly sure Totem would win this round, yeah.
Yeah. Remember how we were saying that Bloody Baron just wasn't going to do anything in this matchup? Look pretty silly now, huh?
What a start to the series. And I love that we've got Spectator. It does make all the difference, doesn't it? Being able to see the mulligans, the decisions from both players. And yeah, an upset from Stasi0 getting it. Poisound got to be very unhappy about the fact the totem was right at the bottom. But Maxi, that's what Maxi does if you click her. She can screw you over. Most of the time I feel like Maxi performs pretty well, but in this case, she let the team down there.
Yeah. Choosing to shuffle what looked like a pretty reasonable order. I don't know. I guess I didn't look at it super close. Maybe he was just drawing cards in round 2 that he didn't want in round 2. But there's always game 2. Now, Stasi0's got to get through this Force of Nature deck. Oh, why do I have the wrong name on the scoreboard. I should fix that. Also, wrong name in my stream title. I should fix that as well. Poisound versus... Stasi0, okay. Okay, we are into game number 2. This time with Poisound on blue coin up against Stasi0's Force of Nature. This was a bit of a weird list, taking a bit of a hit from some of the nerfs to Witch Apprentice, choosing to play only one Witch Apprentice and one Gancane in this Relics deck. 2 cards that were sort of centerpieces of the Bronze Core in the deck last patch, falling to the wayside a little bit to make room for the newly buffed Kikimor Worker. He's playing it in Draga Warrior and Arcuspore as well.
Also,
Poisound, though, playing Commandos.
Yeah, it's quite a weird Commandos deck. It's like the Life Coach take. We saw a lot more people move towards, in the open, we saw some people just playing like the straight Commandos deck, and we've seen that on ladder last season as well with Fireborn and Red Rain both settling on that Northern Realms deck, where they play Neuromancy. Whereas this is like the Life Coach deck where you've just got a ton of points but no consistency. And you don't have the duels as well. Like, if this was the duel-inspired Zeal deck that people played, the game would kind of be over because it's very, very, very difficult for Koshi to win. But without the duels, it could be a really interesting one. Siege doesn't tend to do that well against Koshi, and Hubert kept in hand because you can use Curse Scroll to put this on the bottom. But yeah, your Commando getting locked is not the start you're looking for.
Yeah, you gotta know that it's gonna happen, though. The deck does play 2 locks. Can't imagine there's a whole lot of reason to save those either in this matchup. I guess the only real surprise would be maybe that Stasi0 wants to get down a Thrive first instead, but I mean, you gotta lock the Commando when it's available. There's the Defender. While it is locked, it can still be copied. Full Test gonna be doing a bunch of that, I'm sure. Has Natalis Amphibious Assault to potentially pull a Commando out of the deck as well, or I believe Natalis Reinforcements as well, just make a copy? Yeah.
This is another benefit here of the Caretaker. Cloggers and the Full Test Defender gamers just getting shut down. It's pretty skillful to obviously draw the Defender, draw a Commando, but that's why I use the Curse Scroll. But look at this.
All the answers here. He's going to have the lock for the Full Test as well, and I don't think there's a Code Kadak in this list.
I wish there was, because it would be pretty impressive stuff. I don't think there is
answers from every direction. So,
who says Monsters doesn't have locks, huh?
It's one of the big reasons to not go Devo is just having these answers to things. These 6 and 7 power interactive cards are real nice when you've got Thrives and the Sabbath keyword as well. They're just really on-plan interactive pieces, and while they're not the most efficient thing, them being able to enable your other stuff just makes them so much better in these decks than they are in other factions. It's not only that they're the only options available, but just like the base power is what you're looking for.
That is a row full of neutral cards shining in Monsters, to be completely fair.
Is Caretaker really a neutral? Look at that card. Looks like a monster. Aguara, definitely a monster.
And Dorogray, you know, is... I've actually read about Dorogray. He's in the books, and he looks after all sorts of monsters and animals.
Yeah.
And he, people were going to hunt Villain Tretimurf, fought 3 Jackdaws, the Golden Dragon, and he's having none of it. He's on the side of the monsters and the dragons and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, really, this deck is a huge flavor win. Maxi coming down for Stasi0. No idea what it did. But Poisound just going to play his Erland 26-26. Poisound currently down a card. Stasi0 going to keep up the pressure. Plays the Piggy. No doubt. As the Erland gets clicked. 18 points. No tar removal available for Stasi0. Not sure if there's a Heatwave in the deck. There is a Heatwave in the deck. But no access to it here. Reinforcements coming down, making a Blue Stripe Scout instead of a Commando. Just focusing on making
that must
sure.
Have been a visual bug, right?
He made a Blue Stripe Scout. He's just leaving him in deck. He is not gonna pull them this round. He's just leaving them for multi-round carryover. Yeah, now he's gonna be able to commando in round 3 into round 2 into the push potentially. 4 commandos in deck. This Roche Merciless is gonna be able to keep him alive through the push. He's not gonna lose a card.
Yeah, pretty surprising to see that. Lots of commandos made as well. You saw the Maxi as well. So either Koshi was near the top, and you don't click it, that would explain why Maxi was not clicked. I think definitely this is a deck of an example of where Maxi round 2 would be arguably better. Just because you can, if you've got your Koshi in the top, even if the rest of your deck looks terrible, you don't want to click her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it just really does depend on where the cards are in the deck. You kind of just have to high roll. But no Cranth here, but does have, of course, the Aneromancy. And the Brooks are here looking rather sad. You'd probably just prefer to have an Elder Bear to trigger your 5 curve.
Yeah, this is kind of rough for Stasi0. I don't know what the plan is. If you push, then Poisound just pulls commandos, and he's going to do it again in round 3. If you don't push, you're going into a 10-card round as Koschei? Maybe that's fine. It's not usually what you're looking for, but I feel like you're just losing your card here for very little.
Ouch.
There's the Bruxa. Yeah, no bleed. Just 3 points. Gonna see what he can force out here. And I think the answer is just gonna be immediate Roche 2 leader charges. Hold on to your siege engines. I guess you could play a Ballista if you want. That also gets ahead. He doesn't have access to the Pavetta yet. And obviously he doesn't want to play the Amphibious Assault. Just going to take the Bombardment to kill the Thrive unit.
Yeah, slow start in this one. And
yep. And we're just going to go to an 8-card round 3.
What?
Yeah, I mean, you're in a weird spot for sure. Like, at least now Pavetta can't get value.
It just seems weird to play the Brooks and then pass, maybe just deciding, okay, I guess he just decided
the
that
shorter round is probably good for you.
Yeah,
you're less likely to overswarm. That would be my guess.
Siege has been drawn. It's going to be important, of course. It's a lot of points, even though a lot of the bombardments hit the armor from the lavas. Koshi isn't going to be able to get down for quite a while, so if you can sneak the siege through nice and early, get your engine set up, it could be quite dangerous. We saw 2 locks already come in, but of course there's a heat wave, so siege is going to get heat waved. You would imagine, and She Who Knows drawn in round 3 for that round 4 carryover of absolute dreams.
Against siege, maybe you can Koschei early. Just like Corinthia 1 to the range throw, it can't die, it'll absorb random pings. It's a weird line, but it might be a line. Like, obviously not first. You still have your Andrega Larva that you want to play. You want to Heatwave the Siege. I guess maybe this Ballista just dies, too. The Trebuchet just dies.
Poisound getting his engines ready and waiting. Of course, Assault could play Pavetta. Has the Siege ladder as well. If he has a full row of commandos, could move one to the back row and get some more in there. So in the graveyard, there's only the 1 commando, so it will just be a 10-point Pavetta. So the Blue Stripe Scout, copied in round 1, does look to be the best assault target for Poisound.
Nice inspired zeal to get that extra formation point. Not needing the extra charge, as the Roche Merciless and Commando are going to be the only things demanding charges. And now this Larva is going to go down to the Roche. Don't think there's a need to hold it. Unless maybe you think you'll be able to kill it Koschei? No. Puts it in the range row. Siege Ladder will be able to move it to melee to pull any that remain.
Oh, and gets the crew pocket!
Chill, yeah. No way to deal 6 damage for Stasi0, at least this turn.
Don't see the crew pocket very often on the Trebuchet.
Yeah, it's something that gets overlooked a lot, too. There's Currenthier. It is Kostya time. First larva of many.
And no boiling oil or anything like that. So, pretty difficult to answer this. However, the assault, of course, is going to be triggering the formation, sorry, the resupply.
Is there a ballista?
So, assault for a ballista here is going to be enough to clean it up exactly perfectly. So, that's pretty nice. And obviously, could have taken a Lily charge as well if needed. So, yeah, just seeing the resupply value of the ballistas here, why they're so popular.
Yeah, answering a Kostya there is huge. That is not what you want to see. There's 14 to 37, and there's still a bunch of commandos that are going to be coming out. You have a Kostya leader, a 10-point She Who Knows, and some Crones. It is the better halves of the Crones. The Brewis was played first. You got a 10 and a 12 there. But here's Kostya. Here's going to be not leader. I guess this doesn't die. 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. There's probably no way to kill it. Not even gonna try. Just go after the Brewis. Sequencing it this way lets him play his Crones and thrive this Indraga larva to 6, whereas if he leaders first, one of the Crones won't thrive this larva. So greeting a little bit of an extra point there. But it does work out.
I think from this point, the only thing Poisound really needs to do is make sure he denies the Sabbath for the round 4 carryover. Just, you know, you can't be letting Stasi0 get anything going in this game. It's just doesn't make a difference, but just confidence going into the third and final game.
Just gotta shut everything down. There's the Crone.
Oh, Stasi0 not letting the Twitch chat down, putting the Crones in the right order, but part of me hopes and prays that he intentionally messes the order up on this last Crone, because I always do that and my chat gets very, very mad at me, but I find it hilarious. Just the intentional... You dream... They dream and then suddenly you consume one of the Crones of Brewis.
Oh, Siege Ladder coming down for Poisound. The Commandos get pulled, and I don't think Stasi0 has the points, right? This is 12, a bunch of thrives, gets another larva, still has leader She Who Knows.
That's a lot of points!
It is a lot of points! This Scytheman's not that big. For another unit, gets a boost as well from Inspired Zeal. They're all on different rows. This is a 7-point Scytheman?
It's a very sad-looking Scytheman. She Who Knows as well. Sabbath is activated for the round 4 carryover.
Thing's just gonna hit armor. The thing doesn't hit armor.
Doesn't hit.
This is a lot of points. I think it's getting there. By 1!
Oh my goodness. I thought it was all over, and it is now. Stasi0 taking it 2-0.
Takes the series. The disciplined play by holding on to the leader, making that extra point as well. Rewarded for looking at the deck list, seeing that there was no answer to the Kostya, and just holding on to the leader to greed the 1 additional point that is able to give him the win instead of a tie. Very impressive.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the series. Very well played on both sides.